Kate?
Yes?
You're not afraid to fly anymore? You are thinking of your little stone cottage?
It's on a hillside next to a beautiful vineyard. But that's not really what I'm thinking about.
What are you thinking about?
You.
I'm Vanessa Sultan.
I'm Casper Kuile.
And this is Hot and Bothered. So Casper, we like to look at the HEA, the happily ever afters of these films. We think that they are worthy of close scene studies. So I will summarize for you what happens, and then we are going to discuss it. So I have to give a little context. The last scene before the final scene is Kate saying goodbye to Luke, and she says to Luke, "I've got to go. Charlie is waiting for me." A lie! A lie! Charlie is not waiting. She is really letting him go. Another lie, she hasn't sold the necklace. She's given all the money. Okay. But then Jean Reno, the police officer, runs into Luc, our criminal. And Luc and Jean Reno are watching Juliette and Charlie make up. They're making out. They're fighting. Charlie looks like such a dweeb. Such a dweeb.
She's pouting. It's perfect.
And Jean Reno goes, "Ah, l'amour." And Kevin Kline is like, "That's not love. That's nonsense." And so Jean Reno is like, "I'll tell you a love story." And they start walking away. And it really, to me, is reminiscent of Casablanca, this kind of corrupt cop and thief walking away into the sunset together. Except there's one more scene. So we know that Jean Reno is going to tell Luke that the Meg Ryan has actually given up all of her money in order to save Kevin Kline, Luke. And then we see Meg Ryan on a plane. We don't know where she's going. We don't know how she got on the plane because she's not resolved this passport situation. And I find this stressful. But she's sitting there and she seems really calm. She seems like she's having an emotion, but it seems like an emotion about romance and not at all about being on a plane. She sort of closes her eyes and then we hear Luke, Kevin Kline's voice.
The sexiest moment in the entire movie, I will say. And the look on her face is this sense of just relaxation, joy, excitement. It's just like eating the most delicious food, and you see her face just break into this smile while she keeps her eyes closed and listens to his voice.
So she keeps her eyes closed exactly as if he is this meditation.
Exactly.
And she smiles and he's like, "Where are you picturing yourself in your little stone cottage? Are you doing your visualization so you're not scared?" And she's like, "I'm not scared of flying anymore. And I'm actually picturing the French countryside. And actually, I'm just picturing you." And then he says, "I want you." And they kiss and get off the plane. And then you see them making out, hardcore, making out in their vineyard, apparently. She's in this very cute floral dress. And that is the end of the movie.
And they're making out for a while. It's not just a kiss and now we're looking at the view. It's what I'm into is you and your tongue, and we're going to do this for a long time, please.
And then they stop and they start walking and then they start making out again.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it's a lot of making out. It is a lot of making out. So what does this ending contribute to what this movie believes about love?
I think the movie is talking about, in this happily ever after moment, the importance of sensuality. We see them really connecting, as we talked about last week, when he's teaching her how to taste wine. How do you recognize the notes of rosemary? How do you recognize the aroma, the licorice, the whatever it is? He's kind of bring that out in her. And she is, I think, reacquainting him with the joy of a good makeout session. We talked about his ED in the previous episode, but there is something about rediscovering bodily pleasure in both of them that feels very encapsulated in this extended makeout session at the end of the movie. And I don't know, like they're going to have to work really hard to make this thing work, right? Farming these vineyards, it's going to be very difficult. It's going to be hard labor. You know, who knows what kind of local reputation he has to overcome. And her French certainly is not good enough for the market stall. But there is something about like, at least we have this foundation of this like great chemistry. So I think there's something about like, if you have that, let's see how far we can get. I don't think there's a guarantee that this works out. I would buy a sequel where it ends horribly and she moves back to Canada.
If they let her in.
Oh, God. Poor woman.
She is a woman without a country, as she says in this movie.
Right. How about you? What do you think it's telling us in this happily ever after moment?
I think that the end of this movie tells us that love is about sacrifice, right? Like the thing that leads him to believe that she loves him is that she's like given up her life savings for him. And she does it expecting nothing in return, not even credit. She is happy to just give him all of her money and walk away and lie to him about it. It at least requires like one great sacrifice. I think it's also about that sacrifice. I think like what the movie would like us to think is that it's about like putting all of your eggs in that basket, being like, okay, you're my future, right? Like I'm investing in us. It's a big romantic gesture, what she does at the end of this movie.
You're making me think about one of my mentors, Seth Godin, who talks about, you know, if you're raising money or if you're asking for a donation, any sort of financial exchange, what people are buying when they give you money is a story they can tell about themselves. I'm a good person because I support this charity, whatever it is. I think Meg Ryan is buying a story about herself in this moment. I think she does care about him, but what she is buying is the story that she is not reckless. I'm trying to find the right word. Like
that she's changed.
That she has changed. That's exactly right. That she is not the woman who left Canada. She is coming back transformed, and that she is open to becoming whoever it is that she is now. That this is a journey of discovery, and that if this was only this wonderful moment with Luke, that who knows who she'll meet in Toronto, or maybe she'll move to Vancouver. Like, I think that is what she's paying those $40-something thousand for, is the story, and then the practical reality that she can't fall back on that life that she used to live. She's buying the story that she has transformed. Yeah.
I'm compelled by that. So then that like love requires great transformation, right? Even if it's about authenticity, even if like the person really knows you, it requires you to like deeply change, which I think is true.
Yes, you have to be willing to change because partnership. Yeah.
The other thing that this movie really believes is that it's totally fine for women to just move countries for a man. Came to Canada, met Charlie, given up my American citizenship. Came to France, met Luke. Okay, I'll live in France.
Who's not to say that there's moved to Morocco? Find a cutie?
Well, I don't know. If the sex is good enough, you move. What stood out to you particularly about the end of this movie? Can I tell you one thing immediately? Because I did some research. So my husband is from a wine region. And so when we go and visit his family, we stay truly, truly in the middle of vineyards.
Wow.
It does not look like this. And so I was like, this is not what vineyards look like. And so I did some sleuthing, and this is filmed at Chateau Val-Jauny, and it is considered one of the most remarkable gardens in France. It's won an award. And I was just made to feel a lot better about my life. I was like, what? Why did I marry a guy without this vineyard? And it turns out it goes back to the, 17th century and whatever. But I do think, right, like love takes you to beautiful places. Love is an adventure that is going to like bring you to a beautiful place, I think is one of the other things that this movie is sort of arguing. What's more picturesque than the end of this movie?
Yeah, 100%. There's so much more to France than just the Eiffel Tower. That's what I love about this movie.
But yeah, sorry, I interrupted my question. What stood out to you, Casper?
What stood out to me, if we go back to like the penultimate scene, is the generosity of the police officer. His willingness to say, let me tell you a love story and help Luke make the best decision of his life, I feel like we have fully paid back whatever Luke did to save his life that we hear about at the beginning of the movie. Because
he also pays off the hotel debt.
Well, hello, which is significant. She bought that dress.
A lot of money.
Multiple nights in that stunning hotel, dinners, everything. Yeah, 100%. No, he is insanely generous. And if I was his wife and children, I would be angry about that.
He saved your husband's life.
I mean, that's fair. I guess I'll be grateful forever. But that's what struck me. And I wonder, it makes me think about, like, what's the information I could share about how wonderful someone else is to someone else, right? Like, how can I big up the people in my life to each other so that they would have the same kind of, like, realization about how amazing they are to each other? That's what it made me think. It's just such a beautiful, generous thing to do.
Yeah. Jean Reno really cares about this kind of bad man. I will say that he's reformed at the end, right? Like, at least that's what we're supposed to believe. I think that one of the happily ever after things about this movie is that the necklace gets returned, the hotel bill gets paid. We don't know about all the cars and motorcycles he has stolen. No. But he has a clean slate. Luke is starting this next phase with a clean slate.
At least in this jurisdiction, right.
Yeah. And so, like, I think we're supposed to think that like love renews us in that way. I mean, another thing that I love just in these like last two scenes is we see Juliet and Charlie fight.
So true.
And I would like to say that I think it is entirely possible that Juliet and Charlie make it work, because she says to Charlie, you went upstairs and made out with her. And he says, I didn't sleep with her. And then he says to her, you went upstairs with some French man and made out with him. And I'm like, you know what? They are being honest with each other. Mm-hmm. And like, they are also making out in a beautiful location. So I think Juliet and Charlie, I think everybody gets a happy ending, even the bad guys. And this is something that we're going to see again and again, that so many rom-coms love it when not just one couple gets together, but multiple couples get together. And in this, it's even the jerks.
It's Shakespeare.
Yeah.
Right? It's like the double wedding, the triple wedding, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every time.
I do think it's also interesting just to parallel the opening of the movie, right? Where we see her trapped in this kind of flight simulator, and then the calm with which she's able to fly, or at least, you know, she's still soothing herself, right? She's still like uncomfortable, but there's something different about what she thinks she's capable of when she's stepping onto that plane to fly home. So that sense of transformation that we've seen in Kate, I think is just explicitly modeled in her reaction to flying at the end. And the irony is, of course, she doesn't have to fly at the end. So like there's a fun twist, and you know, she forces her way off the flight simulator at the very beginning, and this time she walks off with the man of her dreams.
And that, like, at the beginning, that voice that goes, Kate, is this like patronizing Cade voice. And at the end, it's this man who loves her.
Aww.
If you could rewrite the scene, what would you have happened so un peu differently?
Well, what I really would have wanted was that he had his half of the vineyard back. Because I do think we're left with this very unresolved sibling relationship with his brother, and they find some different land. And we do have this sort of like rapprochement with, you know, his father and the rest of the family that we don't really get to know. But we do get to meet Antoine, the brother, and, you know, there's a punch up in the street. Like, it's messy. And it would have been wonderful, I think, if we had had that kind of like resolution match the resolution in the rest of the story. I just feel like that was a piece of the puzzle that was unresolved that would have been really beautiful if there was some way of bringing that back together. But such is life. There is always something left undone.
I thought that that's how men resolve things. Is they punch each other. And they're like, all better.
Okay, we're done now. We've each thrown a punch.
Yeah.
How about you, Vanessa? What would you have rewritten in this closing kind of couple of scenes?
I would really like to know what passport she has.
Honestly, though.
And I do think it would have made a difference to the whole movie, because I think that the stakes of like, she actually doesn't want to go to France for a really reasonable reason, risking her passport. And then she does this big brave thing and risks her passport by going to France because she is so desperate. and then she actually gives up that passport for Luke because she loves him. I would really like to know how she got on this airplane. And I think it changes the stakes of the whole movie if it somehow gets resolved.
But there's more than that. When she goes to the Canadian embassy to be like, okay, can I lengthen my visa? She discloses and she's asked about essentially a felony charge that she had not reported when she applied the first time.
Right.
For casual drug use, something today we would look very differently to. But it's not resolved whether she would even get a Canadian visa or if, having asked to leave America, the Americans would have her back. Like it is a genuinely potential, very, very difficult situation for her.
And I think it changes our perspective on Kate, that like these were actually reasonable concerns. She's not a fuddy-duddy who was just too scared. She's like a woman who understands the way that the world works.
Well, what if she's like, I can't go back. I have to make the most of this. I need his French passport.
Casper, next week we will miss you. We will be watching Kate and Leopold and begin wrapping up our Meg Ryan mini season here. Thank you so much for doing French Kiss.
I'm so glad I got to know the Meg Ryan genre a little better and love talking about this with you. Thanks for having me.
You've been listening to Hot and Bothered. We're a small show, so we need your support in order to run. If you can, please consider supporting us on Patreon at patreon.com/hotandbotheredrompod. If you love the show, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. We are a Not Sorry production. I'm the executive producer, and we're edited and produced by Ariana Nettleman. We are distributed by Acast. We love to thank our soulmate level patrons, Molly Reilly, who we would chase through an airport to declare our love to, Becky Boo, who we would wait for hours on the top of the Empire State Building for, Elizabeth Schweinsberg, whose heart we would play a game of one-on-one basketball for, and Lauren Bear O'Connell, who we would call up on stage to dance with us in front of the whole summer camp. And of course, to our wonderful team, Julia Argy, Nikki Sultan, AJ Uramas, Courtney Brown, and Stephanie Paulsell.